Okay.
Do we not have quorum?
One, two, three, four. Yes, we do.
Great. Can we get started,
waiting.
please?
Yeah, I was kind of waiting for Richard since he's, oh, here comes Richard now.
He's
Okay.
here.
Richard is on.
Okay.
Also,
Got
he
it.
doesn't count for quorum, so
That's not true because we're all on Zoom.
okay, great. So
It's a Zoom only meeting. So
got it. All right. Well, he's here.
all right,
We have
we're
quorum.
on.
Let's begin.
Yeah. I was just trying to call him actually. Okay, so good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Committee for Concerns of the Aging on this Thursday, March 5th. And I welcome all of you.
Having trouble getting the camera to hold in play in a good place.
Just want to do brief introductions. My name is Mary Anderson, and I'm the chair of this committee, as well as co-chair of WICOA. Liz?
Hi, my name is Liz Ritter, member of the committee, longtime member of the board.
Anne?
Yes, it's Ann Megas, member of this committee, also member of land use.
Richard?
Richard Allman, member of the committee, member of the board.
Thank you. Eitan?
Hey guys, Eitan, member of the board for coming up on a year now, member of, like Anne, member of this committee and land use, and I'm a law student living in the Heights for a few years. Happy to be here.
Great. Carol?
Representing Dykeman Older Adult Center and a member of this wonderful board.
Okay.
Program director.
Thank you. I don't see Erwin or Dory yet. Just want to introduce also Lilia Lopez, please.
Good morning, everyone. Lily Lopez, NY Connect Center Independence for the Disabled of New York. And I'll put all my information in the chat. Thank you.
Thank you. Madison?
Madison Ayala from Department for the Aging.
Thank you. All right. So we let's see, it's 10:40. Opening this meeting. Richard, are you ready to launch off?
Great introduction there. Sure. From talking with Mary, I think that our main task today is just to take the discussion a little further, continue the discussion from last month, It's certainly my hope that we will focus as much as possible on the bias issues in aging and not, and maybe a little less on what we feel forced, some of us feel forced to do to adjust to that bias. It's a bias, the biases. I'm not sure how to finish that sentence so much as acknowledging that there are a lot of biases in this country, just from the people I know on this email and people I deal with in my life. We've dealt, sexism is out there, racism is out there, homophobia, anti-Semitism, ableism, I believe is the word we're using at this point.
Recording in progress. Recording in progress. Recording in progress.
And it seems like the moment for us to help making sure that ageism is also on the table. Tended. Madison sent out, I believe they were forwarded, some really good materials on what the New York City Department for the Aging has been doing, from posters, from emails I've seen. You know, the department is looking to is mounting a campaign. I think there's some interesting ways that whatever we do might coordinate that, and we might also play a role in taking this to other community boards as an issue to be dealt with. And there are procedures for doing that. I think might be appropriate at the end of today's meeting to see if we're ready to put a resolution forward, and if there are ways that we want to engage additionally with the executive committee or with the borough board. I think those are discussions for the committee. I would like, in starting today's discussion, there were some handouts last time, and I would like to combine a couple of quotes that were handed out last time that just strike me in particular. And it would start from something from the outgoing New York City Commissioner of Aging, simply that ageism is an insidious form of discrimination that cuts across race, culture, and age. Also coming to us last month was this description that ageism and racism adversely affect health in multiple ways beyond socioeconomic factors. Internalizing ageist and racist beliefs, when we internalize it, it impairs our immune system, reduces our self-efficacy. In addition, many health conditions that are attributed to aging, such as memory loss, hearing decline, and cardiovascular disease, are influenced more strongly by negative ageist stereotypes than they are by family history, by genetics, or by chronological age. Fortunately, we can dismantle these ageist beliefs to profoundly affect our own and our colleagues' mental and physical health. Beliefs, expectations, and stereotypes influence epigenetic, and someone's going to have to translate that word for me, epigenetic mechanisms, neural activity, and immune function, and how we can change our thinking to grow bolder rather than older. In starting, if Madison were willing, it might be a good place to start with some of the things that you and the Department for the Aging are working on, and a little more about the things that you forwarded. Is that doable?
I could just speak to some of the things that we did in the past because that campaign was with our previous commissioner. Although we're still working towards addressing ageism. So one of the things besides the literature I sent you on combating ageism in the workplace, we did kind of intergenerational workshops. So with the youth and older adults, we were doing things like that. because a lot of times youth aren't aware of, or there's kind of like a pre-notion of what older adults or seniors might be like. So we were doing work with DYCD to kind of work together to combat ageism as well. I did send the literature for the combating ageism in the workplace. So our agency does have workforce programs, and those workforce programs help our older adults with job training. So we do kind of like computer training, things like that. And then we have job developers kind of pull together a list of jobs for the older adults after they complete the training. So that's another one. Basically, a lot of times we see that people may be hesitant to, I want to say, hire older adults, but we try to really educate people that older adults are very experienced and they're very capable. So yeah, that's just some of the things we're doing right now. Does anyone have any questions?
I got you. Yeah, yeah. Oh, buddy. Grandma to the rescue. I got him. I'm just gonna put my thing in the.
So yeah, that's all I really have right now. If no one has questions, then that's fine.
Hello. Where'd you go? Hi, bud.
I suspect Liz is gonna mute that, and she just did, but we are thinking about her. Mary, if okay with you, I think we would do well to go back into the roundtable mode we were in last month and just see what people have to add to that and see what conclusions we reach today.
Okay, and Anne has put in the chat a definition of epigenetics.
Thank you.
I wonder if Anne, you could, before we get started with all of that, if you could just say what you wrote.
Sure. I just Googled it quickly. I can read a more fleshed out description that came up.
I
The
think what you
study
put
of
in the
how
chat is
behaviors
probably
and
sufficient.
environmental. Sorry?
I was saying, I think what you put in the chat is probably enough for the moment.
Oh, okay.
But yeah,
Okay, right. There's a lot more scientific and technical writing on it, but that's just the simplified version of it, that external factors can actually affect how our genes work, which is amazing. I've seen it spoken of in terms of how it affects people of various races. And not surprising that that transfers to other groups of people, aging people, because of the way people react to them. Just like there's a lot of evidence of how people react to people of different races in some situations. So epigenetics, they have a name for it now.
thank you, Anne.
Yeah.
Um, okay, does anyone want to chime in?
Yeah, I'd be happy to give some comment.
Right.
After reflecting after last month's last month's roundtable, it's not something I had really seen or spoken about before. And I think I did learn a lot. And I think one of the things that is really interesting, and especially from my perspective, being online and on social media a lot as, someone in their 20s, I think that something that we didn't discuss so much is like the ageism that takes place online and how that influences culture a lot, especially politically and things like that. And people tend to put all older adults into boxes. And I think that that's something that's interesting to think about how to combat, because it's so pervasive and it's so online, and that's not necessarily a forum where people are talking about fighting ageism. So I just thought that'd be interesting if anyone had any insights into that.
I'll take that. For decades, probably my entire adult life, if someone were to tell a racist or sexist joke, I would shut it down. And I think I've probably laughed along with jokes about elderly people. And now I are one. So, and also my consciousness is raised and is very much more sensitive than it used to be, about all kinds of groups of people and how microaggressions have an impact in what seem to be harmless joking situations, and they're not harmless.
I have to piggyback.
Oh, sorry.
I just want to piggyback on what Anne said, because, I remember being in nursing school and, finally graduating from nursing school and becoming a nurse and figuring out where I wanted to work. But, one of the things that certainly was in my mind was the fact that I certainly did not want to work on a geriatric unit. I didn't want to work with those old people. And wow, here I am on the flip side, working with people my age, which is we call us older adults now, not seniors, but it certainly is, my perspective has changed through the years as I aged. And yeah, as Anne said, I mean, we used to look very negatively on old folks, that they were just, didn't want to be around them even. Of course, my parents was another story, but it was difficult. And as I got older, I realized that I was quite comfortable with those older people. So, Eitan, you wanted to say something? Go ahead.
No, yeah, I think it's interesting, like how, like what about what Anne was saying, like how do you, obviously the difference between maybe racism and sexism on the one hand and things like that, and ageism on the other hand, is people might feel more open with joking about ageism or things like that because they're like, oh, I'm going to be older one day, so it's like it's not like I'm not like offending a different group of people, for instance. So I wonder if you need a different way of addressing it, or the same way would work, and people haven't been talking about it enough. I'm not sure.
Go ahead, Carol.
I think sometimes, and maybe I'm too much of a Pollyanna, that we don't concentrate on the benefits of being older. Being in the older age category, I can honestly tell you that practically every day that I take the subways, somebody gets up for me and I tell them, oh, it's okay. And they really get up. And we don't concentrate that there are certain benefits that when we get older that are wonderful. I don't want to stand in a crowded subway if somebody gives me a seat. So that's just one example. I think that when we go forward, maybe we should share some of those benefits. And that's what I'm going to say at the moment.
Thank you.
Mary,
Go ahead.
yes, Lily. I want to speak about the perspective of a person with a disability being the caregiver for seniors and the way it's seen, because from my experience, I take care of my my parents. And I feel like, especially when I take them to appointments and I explain that I'm the caregiver, the question is, oh, you? So that means a person with disability cannot be a caregiver. So not only I'm dealing with, my parents getting older, aging, but I'm also dealing with, people thinking that because that someone with a disability cannot take care of a senior. So that was just my point. So I think like maybe that needs to be, talked about, and more, I think more education needs to be done regarding that. Thank you.
Thank you, Lila. Anyone else?
Hey, can I jump in here? Erwin.
Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Um, a comment that was made, give me one second. I believe it was by Carol about the benefits. And an example she stated was people standing up for you while you're like in the train or the bus. But let me ask a different, like, can we see that from, or can that also be interpreted, or the assumption that a person who's older than yourself needs to sit down, can that be seen as discrimination in some way, or like, hey, you're assuming that this just because this person is older than you, although I think is a good gesture and I think it's good practice, out of respect, but sometimes we were talking about assumptions that we make last week. Would that be can that be categorized as a negative assumption that, hey, this person's older than me, they can't stand up, they can't ride the bus or train without sitting down? What about that point of view on that? And kind of just to throw a spin on it, despite the fact that I do agree with that practice. Opinions on that?
It's not just for seniors. I also, when I used to take the train and the buses, I had a lot of people getting up for me, and like, because of my disability. Yes, it's a nice gesture, but I did ask myself the same question. Doesn't, are they doing it because it's the right thing to do, or because they think, she has a disability and she cannot stand? So,
Right.
so I did ask the
That's,
same question.
you know,
I might mention, I understand what you're saying, and it has merit, of course, but on the buses now, sometimes they come across with the announcement, especially if the bus is very crowded, suggesting that you give your seat to an older person on the subway. So in other words, the powers that be are trying to dispel if people have that idea that just because you're old, you can't stand up, or whatever, just because you have a disability. They say, they suggest that you get up. That's an announcement that you hear on the buses nowadays, and not so much on the subways, it's true, but on the buses.
So that's interesting, because then that means that there's like, not only is this a practice from individuals, but it's some to some degree societal conditioning. It's a societal thing now that's happening. And I think my question still stands. How do we feel about that? But I'll extend it further. Now that it's, as you stated, there's messages on the buses that even like the state has a practice of reinforcing this idea that either people with a disability or we should assume that people with a disability, maybe not that we should assume, but that people with a disability or people that are older than us need to sit down, or we should give up that seat. Despite that, again, like I'm saying, yeah, I'm not totally against the practice, but it kind of places the step, like that seed in our minds that you know, these individuals who are older than us, or individuals who have some sort of disability, you know, we need to go out of our way, or that kind of this I don't want to say discrimination, but I hope I'm getting the point across here. I'm finding the trouble looking for the right word. But yeah, my question still
I
stands.
think the word you're
before.
looking for is stereotype.
Stereotype.
I think
Yes,
the word
thank
you're
you.
looking for is stereotype.
Thank you very much. That is a good word for that description to describe what I'm looking for. But yeah, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, you know, I know that at my age, we were taught to respect anybody that was older than we were, you know, and that, you know, if you were a child, you got up and gave your seat to an adult, no matter the age. And, you know, I think that's ingrained in a lot of us, which, you know, I don't think it implies any kind of oh, now I lost my word. It implies any kind of discrimination. You know, and also Liz put in the chat, yes, there's the implicit assumption that age equals disability. Realistically, sitting is better than standing at any age. So
And I'm glad you mentioned the respect factor, because I was taught that as well, because so that's the reason why I don't see a problem with it. But it kind of pits like showing respect, or like or pushing forth the idea that we should respect people who are older than us, regardless of how much older they are, versus the stereotype or the assumption that people who are older than us or people who are disabled necessarily need to sit down. And that's kind of like there may be a conflict there, or maybe there isn't. But I thought that kind of sparked once Carol said that. I would personally, out of respect, I was kind of raised that way. We'll continue doing it. But yeah, that was just a thought.
yeah,
I
I
have-
think if you take a survey,
If I could just jump in here.
go ahead, Liz.
I think there's a difference between assuming someone wants a seat or help or whatever, and just asking in a way that makes it clear that you're accepting no for an answer. So if you see an older person, and by older person, I mean a person who's older than you are, however old that may be, and you say, would you like to sit down? You're not assuming that they want to sit down. They might say, no, I'm getting off at the next stop. In the same way that if you see a person with a cane about to cross the street, you don't just grab their hand and help them across the street. You say, would you like help crossing the street? They may say yes. They may say, no, thanks, I'm good. So there are all kinds of situations in which we may perceive that someone might need some assistance, which we are willing and able to provide. And the way to go about that is to ask, do you need assistance? Not to just offer it, assuming that we know what another person needs. And that goes for any age, any level of ability, anything.
Anne, I see your hand.
Yeah, just to Erwin's initial point, I remember the first few times I was offered a seat on the subway, I like looked around. Are you talking to me? I just got out of the gym um, and it's made me, um, it's made me more aware of scanning, especially on the train, scanning the subway for somebody who might benefit from sitting down. Um, and while I might have been surprised that I was offered a seat, I also thought it was a very kind gesture. And I think there's never anything wrong with offering kindness. And as Liz was saying, it's offered in a way that the offer can be accepted or not. Um, but I think it's always a lovely gesture, and I try more and more to offer it myself.
Is my voice coming through at this point?
Yes, it is.
Oh, okay. I switched to my phone after desktop troubles. I really just want to build on the last couple comments that there isn't an exact equation that covers all of this. I think first thing, I think other public transit systems that I've traveled on in the country have much clearer signs than New York City MTA does on the buses. I generally think that it's a good thing that seats are reserved for older or for people with disabilities. Um, and I think Liz probably said it best, that it has a lot to do with attitude and how it's offered. If someone offers it in a talking down way or a demeaning way, it doesn't feel very good. How I deal with it, I guess, has to do with the moment. But I like the signage. I like the assumption, it is a benefit that goes with older age. I like the assumption that it's there. And I got to say, the thing that bothers me most is when there's a teenager or a younger person who's not paying attention to that. That bothers me. I haven't found the ways to deal with it, though. I think a super ages campaign around ageism might have some impact.
And just to add to that, a mother who has a little child sitting in a seat where an elderly person might need to sit, or a disabled person, and mother not, putting the child on her lap or whatever, to offer that seat.
Yeah.
When it's in, they're in the front of the bus on those seats that are supposed to be for people that obviously need it more than they do. Liz, you're on.
Yeah, I'm actually going to push back on that a little bit. As a grandmother of 3 small children, there are times when I need a seat, not because I am a senior, although I am, but because I have a small child, and sitting down with a small child on my lap is easier than standing holding a small child. So, I've seen in other cities where those seats are reserved for 4 categories of people: the elderly, the disabled, pregnant people, and people with small children. So, it's not like, I don't want to say it's not a contest. I don't think it's necessarily up to me to personally adjudicate what is pecking order. I think that it's always the right time to evaluate what are my needs and what might be the needs of others, and do I have something to offer in this situation? And if I see that there are other people who could use a seat, but I too can use the seat, then I may take the seat or keep the seat that I already have. But if I have the ability to offer the seat to somebody else, I'm going to do that with an open heart.
Yeah.
I'm also not, well, I'm sure not shock you to know, I am not particularly shy about asking for a seat if I really need one. When I was in physical therapy for my knee and standing on a rocking back and forth bus or train was not really working for me, I was not shy about asking people who looked to me like they needed the seat less. And I think there's a difference between saying, excuse me, do you mind if I sit? Versus, hey, you, get up, I'm old. I don't know. Maybe the teenage kid is an athlete who just got out of 3 hours of basketball and they need the seat more than I do. I don't know.
Right.
Yeah, unless I wasn't insinuating that you with your child, your grandson on your lap, should give up the seat. I was saying that, if the child is in a seat separately from the
Oh, yes.
mother or grandparent. That's what
Yeah.
I meant, putting the
Got
child
it.
on your
Oh,
lap.
yeah.
Keep the seat, definitely, but
They go on the lap, boss, on the lap.
Yeah.
You going
Yeah.
on my lap if we're on the bus, right? Okay. Ari agrees. Mm-mm. Oh, Ari just hit his head on the desk.
yeah. Richard, how we doing?
Oh, okay. I'd say if this is the end of getting all our core ideas out, then it's probably time to think about some next steps. One of the possibilities that strikes me is whether we would want to try to organize a joint meeting with the Youth and Education Committee within CB12 to have some different sorts of players in the discussion moving forward. I don't know how well that works, given that we do a daytime meeting and they do an evening meeting. But Mary, anyone, does that make sense as a possible next step as we sort of shape up what we can do going forward?
Could be. I don't know if we'd be able to do that. Let's see. Before it would have to be in probably May.
I have a thought.
I have somebody for April already, a presenter. Go ahead, Liz.
I love the idea of a cross-generational conversation, but I also recognize that the timing is potentially problematic. So I would say one way to possibly manage that is rather than having a joint meeting, I would say we do a two-part thing where we invite someone from youth and education to attend an aging committee meeting, or we invite someone from aging to attend a youth and education committee meeting and have sort of this conversation there. I would be happy to do that. And I imagine Tanisha would be open to that kind of conversation.
I'm sure she would, because she's actually talked about that.
Yeah. So I mean,
for other reasons,
because I think that our power here is in having the conversation. So, having the conversation in youth and education, having the conversation in traffic and transportation, maybe we pick different members of this committee to go to other committees and kind of like preach the word. I don't think this is a resolution kind of thing, because there isn't a specific ask. It's a public education campaign. So in my mind,
I would say, there's an aspect of this that touches on obviously youth and education. There's an aspect of this that touches on traffic and transportation in terms of how we use public transit, how we use curb cuts, all of that. But there's also an aspect of housing and human services, the need for senior housing, the need for certain, the ways in which all the benefits of like NORCs, naturally occurring retirement communities, and the ways in which living in community materially affects the aging experience. There's an aspect that touches on health, the work of the Health and Environment Committee. You could fit aspects of this really into most of the committees, but I would say those are the four. And public safety, ways in which the some of the issues with the elderly, where elderly are particularly vulnerable to certain kinds of crimes, certain kinds of scams, certain kinds of public safety concerns. I don't think licensing is as much of an issue. But I would say, maybe each member of this committee if you as the chair can reach out, and raise this at the executive committee and just ask all of the committees to make time for, not the whole meeting, but like a 10-minute conversation about this. And then each member of this committee volunteer to go to some other committee and be the aging committee point person for having that 10-minute conversation. That I feel like is a powerful way to have these conversations around the concerns of the aging in the context. Sorry, we've got an excellent toy that involves much shaking. But to have these conversations in the context of those other committees. And then it's not a heavy lift because it's each of us going to one extra meeting. Does that sound good?
Sounds like an excellent idea. And I know that there's other people that want to talk, but one of the things I was going to do when we get to announcements is announce my vacation again to people who are not aware. I will be not able to be at the exec meeting or the general meeting this month because I will not be here in the country. So Liz,
since I
nominate you to cover the executive meeting.
Since I'm already going to be there because I'm the assistant secretary, I am happy to raise that. If you could just email Anthony and let him know that should be an agenda item for exec, and I'm happy to lead that conversation.
Will do.
I think somebody is like wide awake and really needing to engage in some active play. So I'll stay on the call, but I'm gonna cut my video so that I can go sort some shapes.
Okay.
Mary, let me add a couple of thoughts there. I think Liz is very on track with a multi-part approach, realizing that the power is in moving the conversation. I'll say I haven't taken my eyes off of the potential to take a campaign out into the community. I think these are good steps at this point. I think it's worth thinking about whether a draft reso would be useful in approaching other committees and saying, this is how we're thinking, this is what we're thinking about doing at this point. I don't think it's mandatory. I think it's a possibility. Also to let you know, I would be glad to try to be available for the executive committee or for other meetings that the issue of ageism is moving forward.
I'm sorry, I can't find the raise hand feature, so I'm just going to jump in here if you don't mind.
We have the same problem.
Yeah, it's so easy on the computer and so difficult on the phone. I don't think a reso really makes sense here because the purpose of a reso is following a discussion in committee. A committee has an idea about an action that that committee would like the whole board to take in terms of taking a position on something and encouraging a policy change at the legislative level or agency action or something like that. But if we're talking about ways that we communicate within the board, that's just a conversation. We don't do a therefore be it resolved, we're going to talk to each other. We just talk to each other, and we do that through the chair and through the executive committee. If what comes out of it is, therefore be it resolved, we think that the bus signage in New York City should look more like, Chicago's, because they seem to have a better way of identifying how to do seating for the elderly. That's a reso. If there's something that we're calling on an agency to do in terms of a policy change or a practice, if there's some kind of legislative thing that we're encouraging our elected officials to do, if there's a budgetary request, if there's a program that we want DFTA to start or continue or whatever, those are all things for which we do resolutions. But there isn't anything that's come out of this conversation that is resolution worthy. That's, and I think that we can have a very productive public education effort within the board and see where that takes us. I don't think we need to have a reso. I'm not really sure what's the focus on a reso. What is it you would like to resolve, Richard? What's the reso you're envisioning?
I'll jump in here for a minute if Richard isn't responding immediately. Never mind. Richard, are you there?
Why don't you go ahead, Eitan?
Okay, yeah. I'm not gonna directly address what Liz was saying. I kind of agree with that, but what I will say is that I'm part of the newly formed outreach committee for the board, which I think will also be a good forum for this type of public education initiative. And we're having a meeting on the 10th, so that's on Tuesday. And I will definitely bring this up with them, and I'll also see what they're thinking of generally in terms of public education initiatives, and also how this can play into it. So I just wanted to flag that for you guys.
Cool.
Love that.
Richard? We can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Now we can.
Yes.
Yes or no?
Yes, we can hear you.
Now we lost him again.
Sorry, he did. I'd like to make a little here. I just had a technical problem with my desktop that the microphone and video were failing. My phone just overheated. Those were
Okay.
real technical problems, but way too often people assume like that something like that is a problem of aging. And it's just a way to make another example. I'm not talking about the people on this call in this meeting, but that's often the way that it plays out. As for our meeting here, I've missed some of the last 10 minutes, so I'm going to assume that everything's on a good track right now. I'm not sure I have anything to add unless you're in a position to refresh me on what just happened in the last 5 or 10 minutes.
Well, both Liz and Aton have volunteered to bring up our issue of wanting to meet with other committees, to volunteer to bring that up at the executive committee meeting. And I will send a memo to Anthony so it can be on the agenda
That's
for that
fine.
meeting. So,
Whether I'm presenting or not, I'll make an effort to attend that meeting.
okay. I will not be here.
Okay.
Can you remind me the date of the executive committee meeting? Because
March 16th, Monday, March 16th,
Okay, thank you.
which is a little difficult for me too, but I'll do what I can.
No, I think I can make it. It's just difficult for me to look at my calendar while I'm on a Zoom.
The short-term phone failure helps me to look at my calendar, the calendar.
Mhm.
Mary,
Yes,
Okay.
Erwin here. I volunteered to make it to that executive if need be. If Liz wants to step in or if she's already gonna be there, fine. I can jump in there as well though.
You are assistant chair, you are assistant chair, that may make sense.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah, so-
I'll be at the meeting also.
All right, so I'll join. I'll join.
Great.
okay.
It's a team.
And then there's the general meeting also to be covered, okay? Giving the report, which Erwin, I'm sure you will
Yeah, definitely.
handle that. Um, anything else we need to talk about this at the moment? I think we've got a good plan set in place. And in terms of volunteering to attend the other committee meetings, I think that, the committee members are part and parcel of other committees, so we can figure that out.
Well, I think it might also help to wait to hear back from the other chairs as to
Yeah, I'm not saying it has to be
what
done now, but I'm saying,
meetings- I suspect for the most part, these would be in April, but some of them, if they have particularly full agendas, might wait until May.
exactly.
Cool.
So, if there's discussion for the possibility for the traffic and transportation meeting, I'm willing to cover that meeting since it's before our next committee meeting.
Great.
So just, just know that and leave me a
I
message.
think they're going to be able, because of that. We may not have the whole schedule yet.
Exactly. All right. This has been a wonderful discussion. Everybody's, and I want to say one thing. Let me say one thing, please. We have our full entire committee at this meeting. This is the first, and I don't know how long. Is that a wow or what? Congratulations,
Wow.
everybody. Whoa, we did it.
Congratulations, everybody.
Yeah. And we really appreciate our attendees as well. Okay, so moving the agenda. Is there any old business we need to talk about? Going once, going twice. New business. we've talked about the new business, I think, in terms of the committee. Announcements.
Not business. Oh, yeah, more like an announcement. Mary, your play is happening. Do you want to talk about when and where?
That's what I was going to open my mouth with to start with.
Great.
All right, so everybody has yet another chance to see the play. The Whitney Museum tickets for Saturday are sold out. So unfortunately, anybody that wanted to go to that performance is unable at this point. But
I
there
already
will
got
be-
mine.
There will be another opportunity on Sunday at 2 o'clock at the Y on Nagle Avenue. If you need tickets, if you need the flyer, you can let me know and I will send it to you. Send me an email.
Can you send
Um,
me the flyer, Mary?
Okay,
Thank you.
yeah, because you need a ticket to get in.
Yeah, I
It's
didn't
free.
realize I needed a ticket. I have it in my calendar, but I don't have a ticket.
It's okay, it's free, but you need a ticket.
Reservation
Um,
required, sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you.
It actually said requested on the first flyers, but now it's saying required. So anyway, thank you to those that attended Saturday's performance, Richard. Really appreciate, and other members.
It was good.
All right. That's what I'm hearing from everybody. You know, at the exercise group I went to on Tuesday at the Armory, because there were lots of those people there on Saturday, and everybody just raved and raved about it all. So, you know, got a great cast of characters. We had a lot of fun, and we're kind of proud of ourselves. We did a good job, and you know, appreciate everybody that came to see the performance. We had a full house. So, and we got a full house coming at the Whitney, and then at the Y, it'll be another full house, we hope. So that's one thing. So my vacation, just to be clear, I will be away out of the country, not answering emails, I don't think, but I can if I need to. From Tuesday, March 10th, and I will return on the 24th. So I will not be at any of the other meetings except for Waikoa this month. Our next meeting is on April 6th because of the Jewish holidays. Same time. And since I'm going to be away, I'm going to leave this one at the board office. And hopefully we're going to have weather conducive with trying to be in person this time, if we can have a hybrid meeting. Have a presentation on AmeriCorps for that meeting. Any other announcements or any other issues that anybody forgot to bring up? Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second,
All right, so this meeting is adjourned at
Thank
11:35
you.
a.m.
Appreciate you
all.
all.
Have a great
Bye-bye.
day.
Have a nice day, everyone.
All right.